I can't remember how I first heard about Nagatoro, or even when, for that matter. It had to have been some time in the last few years, but when I try to recall a discovery of some kind, I draw a blank. It's like trying to remember past your first memory. You know there was something there, some kind of start. There has to be, but the image eludes you. You can almost compare it to the universal constants that feel like they've existed forever. Space, gravity, time, the Queen. Wait, can we still joke about that, or do we not? Like, whatever. Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro is a series created by the artist Nanashi, aka 774. The series has its roots all the way back in 2011, with a series of illustrations Nanashi did. Eventually, an actual manga would begin publication in 2017, with an anime adaptation premiering in 2021. Shit, I was joking, but it really has been around forever. The series follows a high school art student simply referred to as Senpai, who finds himself on the receiving end of his underclassmen's bullying, said underclassman being the titular, now semi-iconic Hayase Nagatoro. And yeah, that's kind of it. Every day she shows up to his club to call him creepy or virgin shame him or make fun of his art or twist his nipples or make him cry or belittle his masculinity. You get the idea. Like I said, I can't remember how or when I found the series, but it was definitely a while before the anime was announced. Maybe it was that Sewer Slut album cover, but I don't know. But regardless, I was intrigued enough to check it out, and I wasn't too impressed. The art style is kind of cute, and I like the character designs. Nagatoro especially looks nice. She'd have to be, considering she's basically the star. I like her earrings in particular. And even Senpai isn't as nondescript as one might fear he could be. I like his floofy hair. But other than that, I wasn't really that into it. I didn't really get the appeal of the whole bullying aspect. It just kind of felt like a weird fetish thing, which I mean, if you're into it, sure, but I'm not. This was also around the time I started to grow more critical of fan service in manga and anime in general, and that was a turn-off for me as well. So yeah, wasn't really into it. It seemed to appeal well to a specific audience, but one I could tell I wasn't a part of. So why did I read 80 chapters? Seriously, when I went back and thought about it, I was like, where did these numbers come from? I get that manga chapters are a more bingeable format than TV episodes, but Jesus, there had to have been something there keeping my attention. Unfortunately, I just wasn't sure what. By that point, it had been long enough that although I remembered certain major plot points, I had forgotten a lot of the episodic hijinks that make up the bulk of the story, as well as how I felt reading them. So I had this series that I somehow both was and wasn't interested in, and perhaps because of that uncertainty, I kind of just avoided Nagatoro, even after the announcement and airing of the anime adaptation. Even though I had somehow read so much of the source material, I still couldn't remember what it was that propelled me to do so, especially when the anime adapting the first few chapters only reminded me how weird and abrasive the whole premise was. So yeah, I didn't bother watching the anime as it aired, and I probably never would have, period, were it not for the sudden, yet perhaps not unexpected, intervention of a certain element. Racism. It's racism. So, a few months after the airing of the anime, Crunchyroll, the English licensors, announced an English dub for the anime to begin airing soon, with Kimberly Ann Campbell being cast as the English voice for the titular Terra, and... Look, I don't need to go into detail, you know what happened afterwards, here are a few examples. What this did, aside from act as a reminder of how fucking dumb the anime community can be, is refocus my attention on Nagatoro, and seeing this stupid backlash against people who look like me, I decided to fight back in my own very small, very petty way. I resolved to watch Nagatoro, but only in English. Yeah, the initial reason for me watching this anime, and by extension making this video, was spite. Not the worst reason to watch this show, is it? So the English version starts airing, and a few weeks later I start watching it, eventually finishing the show on my birthday, and was still a pretty meh experience of a series that by this point I was certain just wasn't up my alley. I still found the bullying thing really weird. It felt like I was watching somebody's fantasy play out in front of me, which, if this gets you off, then cool, but this ain't my shit, man. Combined with other stuff like the aforementioned fan service and the inoffensive but mediocre visuals, it's no wonder that I ended up giving it a 5.5, one of the lowest scores of that year. Which you might notice is still a positive score, because despite what I just said, it felt wrong giving it a negative one. Even a straight 5 felt like too much, and would perhaps imply a kind of ambivalence that I didn't really feel. After all, I did finish the series, and it didn't feel like I was forcing myself to for the sake of completion or something like that.
Again, there it was, that same something that pushed me to read nearly 80 chapters, that stopped me from ever really dismissing the series. But what was it? Was it the characters maybe? The chemistry? The comedy? For all its abrasiveness, did Nagatoro have enough charm for me to overlook the more iffy aspects?
Which brings us to this year, where in preparation for season 2 and with the resurfacing of all these confusing thoughts, I decided to rewatch Nagatoro's first season, and it was after this most recent rewatch that I finally found the words to describe what that something was.
Nana and Kaoru is an erotic romantic comedy that ran from 2008 to 2019, and I swear on my life that this is relevant to Nagatoro. Just give me like 5 minutes. Kaoru Sugimura is a 17-year-old virgin who, aside from talking about porn with his other 2 loser friends, spends his days indulging in his secret S&M fetish, buying toys, costumes, and stuff like rope and handcuffs. The object of his affection is his somewhat distant childhood friend and burnt-out student council member, Nana Chiguchi. Though, on account of their completely alien social standings, he has long since abandoned hope of anything ever happening. One day, Kaoru's mum asks Nana to hide some of Kaoru's toys in her place. Out of curiosity, she has a look and is surprised to find a leather one piece of rather high quality. Driven by something she doesn't entirely know, Nana puts the outfit on, surprised that it actually fits her and even more surprised that she actually likes it, even fantasizing about accidentally locking herself in it and being forced to wear it every day, the thought of it exciting her. Of course, she does end up locking herself into it and is forced to go to Kaoru for help. One thing leads to another, and the two end up sharing an extremely intimate moment, after which Nana finds herself suddenly feeling more refreshed. She's more relaxed, less uptight, and more importantly, sleeping better, which sees her previously stagnating grades improve. So, with the pretense of using BDSM as a kind of breather, she begins an arrangement with Kaoru where he finally gets to live out his fantasies, and she gets to completely detach herself from the stresses of a model student. What really makes Nana and Kaoru work are, well, Nana and Kaoru. I feel like it could have, in the hands of a less talented writer, easily just been a series of episodic moments where the only interesting thing is guess what sexy position Nana will find herself in today. And not that that isn't one of the appeals of the series. I'm at like chapter 110 as I'm recording this, and Jesus fucking Christ. I cannot believe that this isn't hentai. I'm reading fucking hentai, but it all has a purpose. It's all in service of the story. A story about two people connecting with each other and finding a real intimacy in what they do. The series spends a lot of time in the two characters' heads, both during and outside their breathers. And it's really interesting seeing them react to things, process those reactions, react to the other person's reactions. Sometimes they'll have two separate, contradictory trains of thought running alongside each other. Their thoughts and emotions are honestly more tantalizing than the actual sexy stuff. And speaking of, with the exception of the first one, which can be read as a little coercive, everything that happens in the breathers is always consensual. Enthusiastically so, actually. It's honestly really nice watching Nana come to own the fact that she's really into this, that these sessions of theirs have grown past breathers into opportunities to let a hidden part of herself finally shine. To not have to be this flawless, dependable demigod, to allow herself real intimacy with someone she trusts. Which I think is something we all want and need, even if not in this exact form. Also, I really like this face she sometimes pulls. It's like this embarrassed indignance that's so cute, I love it. Moving on to the other half of the title, Kaoru really could have been the deal breaker here. He could have easily been a hentai protagonist with a unique face, but no, he's just as compelling and interesting as Nana. His thoughts get just as much focus as hers, and we can see that, yes, he is a massive pervert, but also 100% genuine in his feelings for Nana. He loves and admires her, you can tell just by how much preparation, planning, and care he puts into their sessions. This isn't just a fetish, it's a passion, and he wants her to enjoy it just as much as he does. And, same with Nana, while not everyone is going to relate to his interests, I'm sure that plenty relate to his feels, especially his insecurities and his worry that he's inadequate for someone like Nana, that he's so worthless she couldn't possibly be spending time with him because she actually likes his company. He's terrified of his own feelings, so desperate to make sure she doesn't find out about them that he completely ignores the signs that she feels just as strongly as he does. It's also nice that he's just as much of a dork as Nana. Whenever he's in dom mode, a lot of the time he's literally reading off a script. He has to spend ages getting into character, and even then often corpses in the middle of things. Again, it's really just a sign of how much he adores her, and that's the real appeal of Nana and Kaoru. It's a story about two people who really love each other, and though they communicate that love in unorthodox ways, it's because of that they're able to satisfy each other in a way that nobody else can, able to better each other when others can't see their pain, able to be themselves in a way they can't be with anyone else, which turns moments like relieving oneself in public into these really nice character building moments, and now feels like a really good time to inform you that I have a Patreon because I could really use the money and I don't think YouTube is gonna pay me the pennies I deserve for this video. I started reading Nana and Kaoru in 2022 between my two watches of Nagatoro Season 1. And though I'm not sure reading it helped me to understand Nagatoro better, it definitely helped me find the words to describe what it is I now realize I like about Nagatoro. Not that I'm suggesting that Senpai and Nagatoro's relationship is meant to be read as a metaphor for a sub and dom relationship, though I think you could. Their dynamic and vibe is quite different to Nana and Kaoru's. It's a bit looser, they start as total strangers, and it takes them a bit longer to kind of work out the boundaries and stuff. What I'm specifically talking about is the appeal of watching two characters realize they both get something out of the other that they can't get anywhere else. Nagatoro was obviously made to appeal to people with a thing for this kind of teasing/bullying relationship, so it's made pretty clear early on that despite his protests, Senpai is, deep down, really into Nagatoro and her toying. Before her, he was a total loner, the sole active member of the art club who'd spend his spare time by himself drawing. And now, he has this girl who goes out of her way to spend time with him, include him in things, and, in her own abrasive way, push him to become better. She helps drive his passion for art, she ironically builds up his self-confidence. By the end of the series, he's actually going out by himself, he's somewhat pathetically trying to make comebacks, he even finds a place within the dynamic of Nagatoro's wider friend group. Nagatoro herself doesn't see the same kind of personal growth, but she is still a surprisingly three-dimensional character. A lesser series would have depicted her as this 24/7 menace, and that's certainly the perspective Senpai has of her for a while. But, being the omniscient viewer that we are, we get to see her in a few different shades, and realize that she isn't constantly scheming to make Senpai's life a living hell. When they both get soaked from the rain, she invites him back to her place to dry off, which he takes as being lured into a lion's den, when in actuality she's just earnestly and nervously doing the right thing. She isn't in total control of things. Sometimes her hijinks backfire and she ends up looking just as much of a joke as Senpai. Sometimes genuinely embarrassing shit happens and she has to rush to turn it into a laugh at Senpai's expense, and considering we don't get a running internal monologue from her like Nana or Kaoru or even Senpai, it's honestly impressive we're able to intuit so much of her thought process just from her body language and facial expressions. She's also really quick to defend him and point out his good qualities to people who put him down, and gives him genuinely good advice about taking the initiative, which creates the impression that, despite her mockery of him, she really wants to see him bloom into a more confident, self-realized person. And like Nana and Kaoru's breathers, her teasing is her way of expressing her affection, even as the two of them get more and more direct with their growing feelings. And yes, there actually is a lot of progress on that front. It's actually really fun watching their relationship change from Nagatoro literally bullying Senpai to tears, to him deliberately hiding smut for her to find and make fun of him for having. It's just like Nana and Kaoru. Yes, it's obviously made to cater to an audience with certain tastes. You know that, I know that, it knows that. And because of that, Nagatoro isn't gonna be for everyone. Hell, it wasn't for me for a long time. I wouldn't blame anyone for watching it and being turned off by its idiosyncrasies. But it also knows that you don't keep attention or an audience just by pandering to them with fan service. You need to actually have something there for them to latch onto, some substance. And in Nagatoro's case, that substance is the simple joy of watching two people fall in love. Due to YouTube's guidelines, I had to be really careful in how I edited this video, especially that Nana and Kaoru portion in the middle. If you want to see the original cut, then I've put it on Patreon. While we're on the topic, the past month I've been uploading multiple mini-reviews of everything I've been watching, listening, reading this year. In December, I'll smash everything together into a massive video and upload it to YouTube. But if you want to see them as they come out, then feel free to sign up. You also get stuff like credits and videos, behind the scenes stuff, early access to music, all that good stuff. I'm not sure when I'll get the next video out. Uni is hotting up at the minute and taking up a lot of my time, so in the meantime, I'd appreciate it if you shared this video, liked, commented, and of course, subscribed. The more I get out of this, the more I can put in. That's all for now, but hopefully, I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Was it just me, Senpai, or were you acting super sus when I came in here?